White people, have a seat, okay? Tonight, while I was watching Rachel Maddow, she finally is starting to see it. They are taking districts in the South, Louisiana, which is 1/3 population black, and they're going to make it all white. South Carolina, they're doing the same thing. They have one black representative, and 1/4 of the population is black. Donald Trump took away the history of slavery at the Smithsonian. He took away the history of slavery at the president's house in Philadelphia. They took away slavery from Edgar Evers in Mississippi, said it wasn't about slavery. Says they're coming from shithole countries. Talking about immigrants like they're animals, how they're poisoning the blood of America. He wouldn't even rent to black people in New York City. He questioned the birth of Barack Obama, the first black president. He asked for the execution and spent thousands of dollars at a newspaper to execute the Central Park Five with no evidence. Donald Trump is a white supremacist. That's not even a debate anymore. When I see the gentleman who's a professor who I'm going to interview, Eddie Claude, I believe he's from Princeton or Harvard, when he goes on and talks to Nicole Wallace, he says, when are we gonna take this snake by the head? Donald Trump is not the problem with America. White supremacy is. This country was built on the backs of black people. We treated them like absolute animals, like second-class citizens, worse than dogs. We beat them, we whipped them, and after we whipped them, we put salt on their wounds, we shackled them, we hung them from trees, we put them in our will like property. They weren't even considered citizens for over 100 years. Even though they were born here. When this country was designed, a black person was only worth 3/5 of a white person. This country was found by racist pieces of shit founding fathers. And if you don't like it, that's too bad. You can ship your white ass back to England where you came from. Because I've been to where the Mayflower docked in England by the big bridge. That's what this is about. When you listen to the racist podcaster, that's what he spoke about. Fear of a white minority. You better fight like hell or traditional family white values is going away. Blame the roaming blacks, in his words. Ooh, Harris's Black Hillary. Is the pilot black? I don't know. You know, nobody ever goes around and says, is the pilot white? Is he qualified? But if it's a black pilot, he may not be qualified. Hey, look at Justice Jackson, one of the most intelligent justices ever to sit there. Whoa, she's an affirmative action hire. She's clearly not qualified. Go look at the group chats, people. Go look at the young Republicans in Miami-Dade using the N-word. Nazi group chats, demonizing women. Go look at the Republican group chat in New York late last year. N-word, calling black people watermelon people. When Donald Trump was elected in 2024, I have friends that didn't go to work. One of them told me, Paul, I didn't go to work the day after he got elected. He's like, do you want to know why? I'm like, yes. Because I knew that the white supremacists would come out, and that's what happened. They're saying, hey, the plantation owner's back. How do you like it now? Nigger. They would send her pictures of burning crosses. Look at how this white man is treated in the White House. I just want you to think about this, okay? Do you remember when Colin Kaepernick took a knee? He peacefully protested. He broke no laws. He stood for what was right. He stood for what needed to be stood for. And all of the white people lost their minds and canceled him because he kneeled before an American flag. But when a white man rapes women, when he defends child molesters, who's best friends with Jeffrey Epstein, the biggest child sex trafficker in the world, when he commits felonies, when he lies 30,000 times, when he cheats on every wife, one with a porn star, when he causes an insurrection and officers die, you all just ran to the voting booth and said, I want the white man. Because that's really what 2024 was about. It had nothing to do with politics. 77 million people could not stomach the black woman. She was the most qualified presidential candidate in the history of this country, and 77 million people said, nah, I'm good. I'm going to vote for the rapist white man. Man has an illegal war. They're going to gerrymander black districts. What do you need to see? Does he need to have a white hood and a burning cross behind him at the White House? When he said, I have very fine people on both sides? When he had dinner with Nick Fuentes, a white supremacist, in his house? And don't tell me that bullshit that he didn't know. That dude went through a secret service. He went through a background check. He knew exactly what was in his house. You just didn't care. Did he denounce David Duke, leader of the KKK, when he voted for him? No, because he wanted his vote. Who do all the white supremacists vote for? The black woman or Donald Trump? Yeah, did he denounce their votes? No, he didn't, because he wanted them. And for everybody that wants to say, I just want immigrants here legally, how did you justify voting for a white man who's a convicted felon and rapes women and defends child molesters? Why was that okay? Because he was the white man. And that's exactly the conversation I had with the family member today. And I really don't give a shit if he likes it or not, because he wasn't going to vote for the black woman. I asked him point blank, you voted for a rapist. Why? Because he's better for the economy. And I said, no, it's because you couldn't vote for the black woman. And he shut his mouth because he knew I was right. Barack Obama triggered a chunk of this country. And they were triggered that a black man was in the White House instead of picking their cotton out in the fields. That the White House was different on the inside instead of the outside. They are petrified of anybody that doesn't fit into their racist, bigoted version of straight white America. And for all of you fake-ass Christians with your crosses that say this is a Christian nation, when? All the examples I just gave you, the lynchings, slavery, Jim Crow, Trail of Tears when we demonized Native Americans, when we locked up Asians in internment camps for years, when women couldn't vote, when you put black people in wills. Why were black people worth 3/5 of a person? If this is a Christian nation and we're all created equally in the image of God, why were black people less than? Because according to white supremacists with red hats, because that's what they are Klan members. Christianity to them is white supremacy. And they will slap a God label on anything that maintains white supremacy, including worshiping a racist podcaster and holding a Nazi-style rally in Arizona to worship a racist piece of human trash. Because that, my friends, is what this is really about. This is not about policy. Too many of you that look like me are still sitting silent. This is what you're doing. Doesn't affect me. Nope, doesn't affect me. I'll be okay. I'm white. I won't be pulled over. Off-duty officers in Minneapolis are being pulled over by ICE agents because they're black. Asians are being pulled out of their house butt naked because they're not white. Many U.S. citizens have been deported or put in jail because they don't look white enough. How long are you going to stay silent, white folks? Because we're here, whether you like it or not, because of white silence. Since 1619, that's exactly what white people have done. We've sat on our asses and just put our nose in the air and said, it doesn't affect me, I'll be okay. Too bad, sucks, it's a black problem. No, it's not. It's an American problem. How many people have to be mistreated? How many? Before you actually give a damn. When I was in Germany, they had these little bronze squares called Staudenflug, or something like that. I'm saying it wrong. But they were tiles where Hitler took Jews out of their houses and murdered them. And you know what really hit me? It was very symbolic of America, because right now we have concentration camps throughout this country. 34 people have died. Little girls are trying to take their own lives with plastic knives because they're so depressed. And every single one of those gold plaques, their neighbors, people across the street, friends and family, didn't say a goddamn thing. They let it happen through their silence. Evil succeeds when good people do nothing. Evil succeeds. No. White supremacy succeeds when white people do nothing. Think about that. When are white people going to start giving a shit about somebody else? When are you going to sacrifice? That conversation I had with my MAGA today, he cussed me out, and I don't give two shits, because that man voted for a rapist and a white supremacist. And if more people would do what I'm doing and have those uncomfortable conversations and be willing to ruffle feathers, we would be a better country. But too many white people want to sit in their privilege. And I'm going to tell you something that you're not going to want to hear. If you think those No Kings protests are going to do anything, you are pathetically, sadly mistaken. I don't care if the truth doesn't care about your feelings. It is a white participation trophy. You want to actually do something? Go on a general strike for 3 weeks. You get me 15 or 20 million Americans that are actually willing to be uncomfortable, to stop working, to stop paying taxes. And if your first comment is, well, Paul, I can't afford to. No shit. But I want you to ask yourself this. What's going to happen in 6 to 12 months if you do nothing? What's going to happen to the economy? How many people in concentration camps have to die? How many of our black brothers and sisters have to be called the N-word and treated like shit while white people sit by? But you need money. Okay, that's cool. You going to be good with that in a couple years? When we have those little stars or squares on the ground like Germany? Is that cool with you? Yeah, there's just nothing you can do. That's why I do this, because of white Christian nationalism. MAGA is white supremacy. It is the remnants of the lost cause where we didn't punish the Confederacy for fighting for slavery. They should have all been rotted in hell, thrown under the prison, and left there. That's what should have happened. I don't care how much of the population it was. They wanted to own black people like animals, and it's disgusting, and it's morally repugnant. And we let them lie and say it was about states' rights. We failed the black community, and we're doing it again right now. When are you going to wake up, white people? Honestly, I want to know. When are you going to start giving a shit and being uncomfortable? When are you going to have that conversation like I had with my family member? Talk to Uncle Bob, talk to your mom and say, you know what? I don't care, Mom. If you're going to support a rapist and a white supremacist, and you're going to sit by while everybody that doesn't look like white gets treated like crap, then I don't want to be around you. When are you going to have those conversations? Because in theory, that's how so many things in this country are messed up. That's why women don't come forward. That's why we have a rapist in the White House. Because we have people in our lives that are unwilling to talk to their MAGA family that voted for a rapist. And you normalize it. Your silence perpetuates women being afraid to come forward and normalizing this kind of behavior. Because too many people that look like me are unwilling to break a few eggs. So are you going to be on the white side of history or the right side of history? It's very simple. This country will either succeed or fail because of white people. If you want to continue to sit in silence, then that's fine. But just remember, when you lose your job, when you're on the street homeless, and you sat by day after day after day while people that aren't white got treated like garbage, you contributed to that. And I'll leave you with this quote modified for 2026, and I've said it before. First, they came for the immigrants, but I wasn't an immigrant, so I didn't say anything. Then they came for the transgender athletes, but I didn't say anything because I wasn't a transgender athlete. Then they came for the Somalians, but I wasn't Somalian, so I didn't say anything. And then they came for the black people. Oh, wait, they've been doing that since 1619. Have a white day.